Hello and welcome back to Solidworks Live at Solidworks World 2019 in Dallas, Texas. I'm Jeremy Rigneris, your host, and today I'm joined in our studio live with Jeremy Fielding. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So for those who might not know at home, Jeremy, you have a fairly large YouTube channel. I was going to make a funny joke there, but instead...
It works for me. It made me laugh anyway.
Yeah, so you have a YouTube channel with 118,000 subscribers currently?
That's correct, yeah.
So tell us a little bit, what's the YouTube channel about? Like what is your focus on YouTube?
Well, it started with me just making jigs and various mechanical devices in my workshop at home. And that kind of grew into my passion for talking about mechanical engineering and doing some teaching. So now I describe it as a mechanical engineering channel disguised as a maker channel. It's really what it is.
Okay. And so you got into this because you yourself were a bit of a maker, and what, you were looking for ideas and wanted to share ideas? Is that kind of how the genesis of that all started?
Yeah, I guess like many people now, I went to YouTube looking to see how other people had solved the problems that I had. And then when I couldn't find what I was looking for, I developed my own. And I began to think, well, maybe I should be sharing these ideas as well. And I started posting my own videos.
So tell me a little bit about what some of your, maybe one of your favorite videos is that you've produced. I mean, you have a lot. Your channel is filled with tons of content. It's extremely valuable for makers, DIYers, entrepreneurs, but from a personal standpoint, what's one of the favorite pieces of content that you've created?
All right, so it's kind of a double-edged question here. I have my favorite video, and then I have the one that's probably the most popular.
Okay.
All right, so my favorite will be my clock. It was the most technically challenging project I've done. It's got planetary gears, huge reductions. It took a long time, lots of problems. I was really passionate about it. I loved it. And it kind of did okay. But then I decided one day that I saw my kids jumping around playing the Wii video game, and I decided, what if I took that energy and made it so that they had to use that to play the game? So I turned my rowing machine into a generator and then hooked that up to the Wii. So as long as they're rowing on the rowing machine, the game works. When they stop rowing, it shuts off. And this ended up on the BBC. It was published in Popular Mechanics. It was just huge, and it got a lot of attention, although technically it wasn't nearly as difficult as making the clock.
So for those of you who don't know, you can go on YouTube and search for Jeremy Fielding, and that's one of the videos that's actually shown right on your main page when you land
Absolutely.
on your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I saw that. That was one of the first things that came up. So one of the things I want to point out to the folks at home who might be tuning in live with us, we're actually going to be looking at some of the social questions. So if you have any questions you'd like to ask Jeremy here while we're here today, feel free to post those, and I'll be keeping an eye on this. So I'll continue to glance down, but we'll continue to have this conversation here. So
sounds great.
I looked at one of your videos where you were talking about redesigning an entire workspace. And one of the interesting things you brought up very early on was the idea of planning. And you used an acronym called Dr.
Farm.
Dr. Farm. Tell me a little bit about what Dr. Farm means.
All right, so that's totally made up. But what I was trying to figure out how to explain to people how I develop the projects that I do, because I get lots of comments where people say, well, how did you design that? How did you come up with that? And I finally sat down and thought of a way to sort of finalize it into a list, and I came up with the acronym Dr. Farm. So essentially it starts with defining the problem. And these are basic engineering concepts that are taught in engineering school, but I wanted to apply it at the maker level. And so I started talking about defining the problem, researching your problem, and moving on from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that project, how did that end up turning out for you?
Well, I took a little break in January, so I haven't been doing any building or anything, and it's actually under construction right now. I literally started building it again this weekend.
Okay. So I look at your videos and I see your space, and you're constantly using really unique ways to build the things you need. One of the examples you showed was you needed a lathe to be able to turn some parts, but instead of going out and just purchasing a lathe, you actually kind of built your own, right?
Well, same idea. I wasn't really sure that I even wanted a lathe. I'd never used one before. So I started looking at lathes. I'd go to the local hardware store and look at them, and I thought, maybe I could make one myself. and I started designing and building my own lathe. It went through several iterations, and then, yeah, now I have a functional lathe. I don't need to buy one. I just use the one I built.
It works great, right?
It does. I love it.
So this is your first year at Solidworks World.
It is.
What do you think so far?
This is amazing. I was blown away by not only the scale, but the people that are here, the project.
This is where you're learning things and announcements in the morning. What's probably your best takeaway you've had so far? I know we're really only a day into this and we've got 2 more jam-packed days full of content, but what's one of the best things you've seen or heard so far?
Well, I took a class on large assembly, and that was really good. There were a lot of great tips in there. That's probably the main takeaway. Of course, I just walked out of that class like an hour ago. So that to me is, that's still fresh on my mind. But even the opening session was really good. So,
okay.
yeah.
So that's something we haven't even really hit on here yet. You're not just a YouTuber and a DIYer and a maker. You're a SolidWorks user also through all of this.
I am.
So when we look at like some of the projects that we've seen on your YouTube channel, are some of them done in SolidWorks, all of them done in SolidWorks? Is it, I just need to model something up to visualize something in 3D? How do you use SolidWorks in that process?
Well, except for the very first video on my channel, every project is designed in SolidWorks.
Okay.
And I've been using it for nearly everything. Even when I make prototypes, I will usually design it first in SolidWorks, even if it's just a rough model, and then I'll take that out to the shop and use that in order to put my prototypes together.
So you build a lot of stuff in your own space. Do you work with any maker spaces or anything like that locally? Like, do you ever work with like 3D printers or anything like that that you might need?
I am just now starting to look into that,
okay,
but I don't currently work with anyone locally. Yeah.
Cool. Well, there's a lot of opportunities to learn about things like that here as well too. How to get involved in like a maker environment, stuff like that. So,
absolutely.
Any big projects you have coming down the pipe that you might be working on?
I don't know that I want to tell them all,
okay,
but
I want to tune in. I want to know what to stay tuned to watch for.
I am definitely interested in doing something pretty large scale with CNC.
Okay.
And it's not going to be like the average. It's not going to be your typical woodworker CNC machine. It's going to be pretty epic.
All right.
And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. So for the people watching us on YouTube, why don't you tell them where they can find all your content on where your YouTube channel is?
Well, the easiest way to find it is just go to YouTube and search Jeremy Fielding, and I usually come up #1.
All right. Well, let's hope you get a few more subscribers from this.
And that'd be fantastic.
All right. Well, Jeremy, I want to thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to come here, join us in the booth. I hope you have a great rest of the show, and we'll be staying tuned to your YouTube channel to see what exciting stuff you're coming out with in the future.
And that's great. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Thanks, Jeremy.